Good morning,
Just
everybody.
a little bit over there.
Welcome to Feedback Friday. This is where Tim and I take a look at your resumes and portfolios. We will invite you up on stage if you have provided a link in the chat. We will invite you up on stage. We will learn more about you, the context of your goals for this call, and we will attempt to iterate and better whatever design asset you're wanting to showcase today. Now, I'm looking at the chat. Many links already. We are already booked up for the day. If you take a look at the queue video feed, which is somewhere below me, to the left of me, who even knows where, depending on your context. If you take a look at that, you'll see that there's a list of 8 folk already listed. Chances are that will be well beyond 2 hours of effort. So, if you're new here, we do this every Friday, 10 a.m. right now, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you missed today's queue and you want to get your stuff reviewed in the future, would love to see you arrive slightly early, 5 minutes, 10 minutes early, just to make sure your link is in the chat before everybody else gets here. And that guarantees, more or less guarantees, that you get a slot on the stage. A preface for everybody, we are streaming on the YouTubes. It's at the very top of the chat if you're looking for that link, which means a couple of things. One is you don't have to take notes because you can always go back and take a look at the recording afterward. But two, everything is being recorded and streamed for the greater world. So if your resume, for example, has your phone number on it and you don't want that shared with the greater public, you may want to censor that before showcasing it with us or potentially even sharing a different asset. And Tim and I will keep an eye on that as well before we, at least we'll attempt to before we share things. That's the spiel for me. Tim, anything I'm forgetting to talk about?
We are very friendly. And what that means is that our goal is not to today roast or like come at anyone or any of that sort of stuff. It is to be collaborative. It is to work with you. And if I mean that's our goal. So we hope that you'll feel comfortable with us when we ask you some questions and we want to get into it. We promise we're being genuine. We're being sincere. We're really just trying to do the thing with you. So I am. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get the screen share up. Uh, it just wants to do my entire screen though. I don't want to share my entire screen.
Yeah, I understand that.
You might have to help me find the right one. Okay, I think it's this screen. Is that the right one?
We'll find out.
I can't see the previews. For some reason, it's not showing me anything. Is it showing you stuff on the stream or is it black?
Just black screen.
All right. Let's turn off Stage
Oh,
Manager. Okay, how's
now
that?
we're seeing something. Yeah, now we see the Design Shaped website. Hey, nice plug there.
Yeah. All right.
Looks
I
like
think we should though.
first.
Yeah, we want to be your friends, guys. We're here to be friendly. We don't bite. Let's do the thing. Let's do this.
First on our list today is Kimchi. See if you can find them in the chat. Or Kimchi, if you're out there, please raise your hand. Makes it easier to find you. Context for you, Tim. Kimchi and I were talking a bit yesterday. We talked specifically about resume. I think today we're talking more about portfolio stuff.
Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Um, yes, yesterday you reviewed my resume and I got the chance to actually rehaul the whole thing. So hopefully we'll take a small look at that before looking at the website if that's all right with you guys.
Yeah, you want to take a look at the resume first.
Yes.
Cool. We are streaming to the greater world. Anything on there that you are fearful of sharing with everybody?
I already blurred out the stuff that I need to blur out. So
Perfect. You're on top of it.
All right. Let's get into this then. Kimchi, just for me and for anyone else, I see you definitely did blur it out. You totally blackened it. What I would love to hear a little bit about maybe who you are and the any sort of specialties that you might have that is if you are working for UX design, product design, graphic design, etc. And then any industry like audience that you're looking to get into. So that could be, are you trying to go full time? Are you going freelance, fractional work, so on? And then your goals. Like, is this to get hired? Is this just updating? All that kind of stuff.
So the whole context is I'm an international student from Vietnam. I've been here for about 9 years, studied at Western Washington University in Seattle, or near Seattle, and I just finished my master's degree in Kansas, and my goal long term is to eventually be able to become a creative director. Um, all that means for me is just meeting people and being able to connect concepts and just from what I've heard is just like be an expert at meetings apparently. Um, but overall, that's that's my main goal and trajectory. Just being able to wear many hats at once. Um, yeah, that's the general gist of it.
Very cool. Then for today, is there a particular aspect of your resume that you'd like to look at? Whether this is like a first time thing, maybe there's some specific feedback that you've received in the past.
I guess uh, right now I'm sort of looking for almost an entry or junior role, but however much my resume can convey that, I'm not sure yet. But hopefully, my hopes is because I have a master's degree now, I can sort of aim for a little bit more senior role, but I highly doubt that. So I guess I'm just more focused on like the entries and junior roles since I don't really have an actual work experience because right after university I jumped straight into master's program. So
Well, congratulations on your master's program.
thank
I
you.
would say definitely coming out of masters, you can find stuff. Coming out of university, you can find stuff. There is when we think about the world, there is almost an infinite number of opportunities. It's just about meeting the right people and telling the right story to get yourself in the doorway. So that's not to say it's also advantageous to your storytelling when you have maybe some experiences or other things that can speak to that as well. But don't count yourself out yet. So let's get in here. Nate, do you have somewhere you want to start with this resume? I don't know if you've already taken a peek at it or if you're like where you want to be with it.
Yes and no. So we have taken a peek at it. Kimchi and I talked yesterday, and I'm looking at this resume. This is a complete overhaul from the one that we had reviewed yesterday. So I have looked at the content, but this is a brand new draft and is a dramatic aesthetic change from the previous one. So I think we just do general overview stuff.
All right, that sounds great to me. Okay, so and I'm assuming let's do our quick thought. So resumes are consumed by typically two kinds of people, which is one of them is a person, and the second one is not a person. So people is actually lying. I was lying. I was tricking you this whole time. It's the ATS system will consume it, and then also sometimes HR, recruiters, those kind of people will look at your resume. The goal of a resume, though, is not to be aesthetically pleasing. It's just to convey information of like a receipt form. So if you think of like a receipt at a restaurant or something else, it's not like its job is not necessarily to be pretty or to be like aesthetic. The job is to communicate a certain type of value or some kind of credit that's easy to understand and comprehend. So for resumes, we have to make sure that they can be easily digested by ATS systems, but then they can also be easily scanned by people who might be looking for certain things. And we have to help tell them what the right things to look at are. They're going to be looking for job titles. That's typically the most important thing is a job title. And also going to be looking underneath that job title, what sort of things qualify you to say or claim that job title or position. I do see here we have our experience section at the top, which is great. So we can see the job titles. And then we get down here, we have a skill section, which is great. Also an education section. And we're listing some of our stuff here, which is great.
I do forgot to mention that for my master's degree I did have to do a thesis, and I was wondering if that's worth mentioning in the resume itself or not.
Ooh, great point. Depending on how you can format it. So thesis, capstone projects, those are all excellent things to have. My opinion on them has typically been to include them. Nate may have a different opinion too. Nate's got lots of opinions. Um, it's typically been to include them as like an experience point and to kind of wrap it as a storytelling thing. I wouldn't necessarily call it like master's thesis project. I would call it just whatever the name of the project is, right? You don't have to qualify it as saying this was a case study or this was a capstone. I would just talk about it as if it was a normal project altogether.
Mhm.
What about you, Nate? What do you think?
Same exact concept. Yeah. Having a thesis, caps on projects, all of those is great, are great. they should be included as bullets within the experience. There's a side conversation here, and that is being a student is awesome. Having just graduated with a master's, phenomenal. The hurdle now is as one enters the market, you're attempting to sell your ability and your position within the market, and having the perception of being just graduated does put you slower down that perception line. So there's a nuance here that is, can we find a way to honestly lean away from some of the academia that you've done? Can we position it in a way that's not academia and as real world projects? So we'll talk about some of that as we go through here as well. Like I see the word volunteer a couple of times, and maybe we can get away with just not listing that. The black section you've got at the top, we can't see it. Want to confirm you have contact info up there. That's your phone number, email. Do you have location up there as well?
Um, not yet, but I was thinking about that as per our conversation yesterday as well. So I'm still considering, um, just considering it.
Sure. Yeah. You have locations on individual experiences. Therefore, location, I would argue, isn't mandatory at the top. But if your goal is primarily targeting remote work, for example, you may want to consider adding your location
Right.
at the top up there. You have switched your resume to a single column layout, and this is vastly improved for that of ATSs.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and you remove the professional summary at the top. I think that's the right call. And the order of your sections has improved. So now we're leading with experience. I would still argue that you place your skill section below your education section. So we're wanting to list the sections in order of importance, and your education is just cooler than that of skills. Skills, I don't know, Tim, feel free to challenge me on this. Skills is a weird section nowadays. Now that we're targeting both humans and ATSs, and skills is that section that's really easily customizable to target individual job descriptions. It's just a peculiar section that it's got multiple audiences, but the value is still kind of odd. Tim, any like challenge with any of that rhetoric?
Yeah, I'm not gonna go and weigh your skills on here, but we typically want to see skills and tools kind of all put together. It's kind of like a crude way of, and this is the standard, right? This is not me calling anyone out.
Right.
I have a skill section on my thing as well.
Me too.
It's kind of like a crude way of like keyword. Yeah, what's up?
No, I said me too. I apologize. But yeah, it's you were about to say
Yeah,
SEO strategies. Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
yeah, it's a keyword strategy basically for your resume, and that has pros and cons. What I would look see though is that just understanding probably when people are reading it, it needs to be easily read. So right now, it doesn't look like paragraph form. It's got lots of space in it. You have in some places commas, in some places bullets. Sometimes the font actually gets a little bit smaller to kind of fit larger things in here. I would look to see you condense this so it looks just like a normal paragraph. So the same way you have this one right here, where it's repositioned in a legacy pain relief, this kind of same formatting just down here, and I would just put all the skills into this one paragraph together. I'd separate them by commas. If you really want to, you can use semicolons, but I think commas is probably the better way to do it, and just the capitalize the first word of each skill. So I guess visual systems. I guess title case works too. Yeah, and that's what I lean to. You don't need to make this fancy looking or different. Keep in mind that a robot has to consume this. A robot may interpret this bullet character differently, right? It may not render very well. As a person reading this, it's kind of weird to see the bullets. It looks like it's a paragraph that got formatted like different. It looks like a list that got formatted weird. So I just watch out for that. It's just simplify it.
Right.
You know, something we haven't mentioned, Kim, is that you're doing a lot of stuff on this resume correctly. And I feel like in regard to reviewing this resume, we are closing in on optimization tactics.
Right.
We talked a whole lot about some of the obstacles and frictions with your previous formatting. You've resolved the dramatic majority of those. So you're absolutely headed the right direction. And now it's just like honing in on certain things. Tim's got a couple things highlighted here. The skill section I had written down. The very bottom in your education, you've got a ZZV section.
Yeah.
What is there?
I was editing the thing, and I had like three things happening at once, so I was a little bit hectic on everything else on the little grammatical mistakes and stuff like that.
Yeah, don't fret. Was that what happens to me all the time? Is I try to use keyboard shortcuts, forgetting that I am typing in a particular text field. Is that what happened
Yeah,
here?
that's exactly what happened there.
Excellent, excellent. Yep.
Command Z, Command Paste. Yeah.
And then I would, yep, swap the skills and education section. So lead with education above skills. Uh, I want to talk about something else. Uh, it's less important than other resume things. I want to talk about your goal of targeting the creative director title. But before we go to that, I want to make sure we finish up some resume stuff. I'm also looking at the clock. I don't think we're gonna have time to look at your portfolio as well. Is that okay if we just focus on your resume?
Oh, sure, that's fine.
Okay. Tim, any other resume things before I talk about the creative director
Yes.
title?
So I noticed that you're targeting concepts and skills. So instead of saying what your job title was at the Ballad Center, you're saying digital experience and visual direction as like a project ownership versus a title. And then
Okay.
you have your title in here as volunteer. My opinion is going to be to pick one of those, and it would be to pick the job title up here, and then to talk about owning the digital experience and visual direction inside of the bullet points. But I also wouldn't put volunteer as your job title. I'd put your job title as whatever reflects the project that you're working on here. So if I was targeting, for example, product designer, and I was a volunteer who worked on digital experience and visual direction, I would write product designer. And so whatever you have up here, and I see up here you have graphic designer. Whatever you're positioning yourself as your job title, it should be the job title you're leading with in your experience and that you're leaning towards. So like down here you have healthcare concept and experience direction, which doesn't tell me a lot about your job title here, about your role name here, which is a little bit important. And then you have underneath it academic project. We don't need that qualifier. It's a real project. You just don't have to put it. I don't even think you need to put graduate program or even University of Kansas unless you want to put nudge, University of, this is my U and it's a K
Right.
there. University of uh, Kansas. So you could do something like that, but I don't think you need these qualifiers to kind of underpin some of this. Just put the name of the title that you would be working under, that you're targeting as well, that you can speak to, and then whatever project hope and takeaways you want, lead with those inside your bullet points. That's it, Nate. That was the last thing that was forming on my mind.
That was nice. No, I good catch on the title there. I did not even catch that, and that's a real valuable piece of feedback. A lot of when we talked about the skill section, we were talking about SEO strategies. We want to make sure we get those job titles in there specifically for SEO strategies as well. The creative director title. Tell me more about that. What's your desire with that specific title?
Um, I, the, my history is my dad started out as an accountant, and he somehow worked his way up to be a chief finance officer. And he wanted me to be an accountant, but I suck at math. So I prefer walking the fine line between design and business. So that's sort of like my ultimate end goal if I was in the field for like 8 to 10 years. That's sort of like I want to be um just working with teams and yeah, just walking the fine line between design and business, if anything.
Got it. Okay. Well, so the title creative director some comes with some bias. It comes with some history and background. The
Right.
where I'm thinking with the term creative director is that is typically a title associated more with like branding and marketing. You will find that title prevalent in marketing agencies in that realm. If we focus solely on the design portion of things, you will also find creative directors, but they also typically exist in like agencies, design agencies and creative agencies of some kind. You won't often find creative directors in enterprise environments or even startups. So, how are you feeling about that? Like, is the title specifically what you're after, or is it more you're after like a strategic role at a larger
It's
organization?
it's more strategic role. Like I prefer overlooking multiple projects at the same time. That sort of um that sort of thing. Just um yeah.
Got it. Okay. So understood. So the title creative director, not necessarily goal. It's the positioning of the creative
Right.
director esque.
Like the work that I'll be doing.
Understood. Okay. Cool. I don't have any feedback for you there. Then in regard to like the rest of the resume, I was wanting to validate that the resume's content was positioning you toward that particular direction, and it sounds like you're already aware that the term creative director might be positioning you away from certain industries, and it doesn't sound like that's the goal anyway. So I think all is fine.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we will have to move forward due to time. But I would just give you last little bit here. Is just make sure that when you're choosing your title here, like graphic designer, someone hiring for a graphic designer is probably not going to choose someone for a creative director role. And a creative director role is going to need for to get that kind of role, you will probably need very well written copy and evidence of your ability to direct, since that is more high stakes at a director type thing. And so I would just be careful, just knowing if you want to get a creative director role, you've got to spell that out like very clearly. You've got to like explicitly state that's what you're going for instead of graphic designer. And that if you do go for graphic designer stuff, which or creative director stuff, which are to you, like get the job that you want. Um, I would probably suggest some more rework here, especially spending more time inside this copy. So I'd look forward to doing that at a future time.
Right. I also thought about just having the word designer there instead of just graphic designer. Would that be too ambiguous?
Too broad, yeah.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for the feedback.
Kimchi, appreciate the time, man. Good talking with you again.
Good talking with you too. I actually based the resume reworked off of your resume.
Perfect. Yeah, and not to suggest that mine's the best, but it follows some practices. You know, it follows some standardization.
Yes, sir.
Tim, next on the list, we're looking at Kritika.
Kritika or here,
Ah, did I screw it up again?
I don't
Somebody.
know. I don't know how to say. I don't. Please help us say your name the right way and kick us in the
Oh,
shins every time we
I
say it
just
wrong,
misspelled it. I see
so
what's
we get it
going
right.
on.
And then after you tell us and teach us how to say your name the right way, because we're terrible at names, or at least I am, then tell us a little bit about yourself, such as what you do, what your goals might be today, such as you're trying to get hired, you're looking for new employment, you're just touching up on stuff, and then we'll get into some of your specific goals and audiences and who you're targeting.
No, sounds good. So as for pronunciating my name, it's Hritika. So take the H, throw it out a window, and Hritika.
Ritika. Okay. Hello, Ritika.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Sorry, my throat is acting up. Yeah, no, thank you for having me. To answer your questions, I'm kind of like a UX product designer. I was passively looking um, for a new role over the last 6 months or so, but in the new year, I've been more actively looking now. So I thought it was like, okay, let's get that portfolio up to speed. And I'm looking for help regarding impressions and what kind of designer I come off as. So I had a couple questions listed, but if possible, I would like your first impressions of what you get for what kind of designer you think I am based off of this, or we can just skip right into any questions or critique and all that.
Sounds good.
I love that question. I love trying to challenge like what's first impression and then measure what do those first impressions look like. Let me go first here, and it's going to be ambiguous. I'm looking at the homepage. I haven't scrolled anywhere. My current perception is that you are a UX designer who is new enough to the industry that you haven't figured out what those specializations are just yet. Though I'm seeing that you likely have a more shallow horizontal skill set, similar to myself, in the sense that you focus on 0 to 1, or what you're describing as 0 to 1. So I could potentially see startup focus orientation there. That's my current perception. Tim, challenge that. What are you seeing?
Yeah. So I mean, I open this. I'm not nothing speaking super loud to me. You do have designing from 0 to 1, one puzzle piece at a time. So it's like it's kind of one of those things that my first impression is that it's very generic. It's very broad reaching. There's not a lot to take here. As I was scrolling, one of the effects that happens on web pages is that the first time you see a person, that's what you associate as like the identity of a website. And so I'm actually like, I did notice I saw this person. I was like, oh, maybe that's who you are. You're putting yourself here, except this is still like I can tell it's a stock photo somewhere over here. And then kind of getting down here, I see. So you have a range of stuff that I'm seeing. Some coding experience in here. Overall, though, I see just I don't see a lot of good positioning, and I see that maybe you're probably just another designer, a UX designer out there,
Mhm.
trying to figure out what their positioning should be. So
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So, the kind of positioning I'm going for is a little bit more B2B SaaS startup kind of line. I do have like fintech and health tech as those two specific industries that I would want to get into next, but I'm not limiting myself to those, especially since I don't have any experience in that. And yeah, where should we move forward? Should I ask a question or?
So I'd want to know what your goals are for this call. So we've talked about first impressions. What are you looking for next? We can
Yes.
dive down case studies. We can review the portfolio from
Hmm.
a HR
Yeah, yeah.
recruitment
Mhm.
level. How are you
Okay,
feeling? What
so
direction do you want to go?
so um, regarding the impression of someone who's targeting more of the B2B enterprise SaaS, maybe startup roles, how would you change? Or what would you remove, keep?
Yeah, B2B SaaS is my jam. I'm currently in the healthcare space, and I work at a Fortune 25, which is just largest organization you've never heard of in the United States in the healthcare space. Um, I would be looking for a couple of things. First off, the shallow horizontal knowledge I think is wise if one's goal is enterprise environments that are like full 0 to 1. I want to be in control of a particular product line, and that is my sole focus at the larger enterprise organization. I think the 0 to 1 shallow knowledge makes a lot of sense. So positioning wise, I think we're heading the right direction there. The big thing that I'm missing then is the other portions of the value prop. So if we define value prop as who you are, what you do, what industry you're attempting to target, and then the value, the benefit that you provide that industry, I'd be looking for those other two things. So the industry, the target industry, and then the benefit that you provide. I don't have a quick answer for what that terminology would look like, though. Have you dabbled at all? Like you've clearly spent time on your current hero vocabulary here. Have you spent time diving down deeper value prop stuff?
So I'm at a bit of a crossroads regarding that. So as I mentioned, I want to target fintech, health tech. However, most of my experience is in HR tech, and three of my case studies, PIP work, are for that as well. So I wanted to ask, like, okay, how do I frame that where it's like I want to get into these industries, but my experience is in this.
Yeah, there's a book behind me on the shelf back there, and if you ever read any like job identifying or like self-help business oriented books, one of the common strategies they'll suggest in regard to pivoting industries is to find that middle stepping stone along the way. So you're currently in HR tech, you're trying to pivot to fintech. As far as leaps goes, that's really not that dramatic of a leap. Let's say it was a more dramatic leap. Let's say you were a school teacher and you're trying to dive into financial tech design. Then the potential solution would be, well, what's the job with Tim? What's the word where you have what are the common skills between those two things? Interchangeable skills. God, what's the word?
whether cross-platform or cross-collaborative,
Yeah, yeah.
cross-functional, it would
Cross-functional
be considered.
skills. I'm blanking on the terminology. I will think of it tonight at midnight, and I will email you. You'll get
At
an
the
email
stroke
from
of
me.
midnight on his clock,
Wait tonight. I'm gonna
all of his
spring up in
lights will
bed.
turn on in his house to 5%.
I have to talk to Hritika. Get my phone. Though what we're looking for now are those. What are those skills that are also going to Venn diagram you into the next job, and then that job
Mhm.
will have interchangeable skills to Venn diagram you into the job you're trying to pivot into. So the idea is there's a middle job transferable skills is the word. Ritika, no midnight email required. What we're looking for is to build the transferable skills in the direction of the job you're pivoting. I s- did any of that make sense whatsoever, Ritika?
It, on one hand, it did because I am someone who pivoted from, concept design to graphic design to product design. But I'm having trouble seeing how that applies to pivoting industries because I have looked into like, okay, HR tech and fintech, they both deal with a lot of data and PII and all that stuff. But how do I kind of like, is that what I should highlight that, oh, I've dealt with, data heavy platforms, or like, what do I show in
Hell
terms
yeah.
of transferable?
Yeah, there are
Because I feel like the skills are pretty much similar since the role is still product design, but it's the knowledge in the industry that's different.
could not agree more. Yeah. That stepping stone middleman job that I was describing, that's for like dramatic pivots. I don't think you need that. I think product design in HR space, then product design in fintech or health tech, that's not that dramatic of a leap. There is absolutely a Venn diagram of transferable skills there. Data management, a huge one. Like deep compliancy, also just off the top of my head, also sounds like a huge transferable skill there. And then there, like if we lower our elevation into the tactics of design themselves, you already know the process of product design for both of those categories. Like it doesn't change based on the industry, not usually. So there's all kinds of like more tactical skill sets in there that will be relevant to both positions. And then we can like talk about leadership and your ability to manage teams and your ability to communicate and align stakeholders. Like regardless of industry, those are all transferable skills that will perfectly position you for either one. I hate this is one of those like I cringe a little bit when I suggest it, but this is one of those moments where talking to ChatGPT or some robot, phenomenal tool for negotiating what those transferable skills are. It can really quickly provide a list for you.
And to so beyond just the resume, how would I show them here? Is it just trying to use those words in my titles and descriptions, or
So that's where the case study, I would argue, comes into play. And the case study story would be that of how you negotiate and solve business problems. So it's less about what's the product you're trying to output, what's the product you're trying to build. It's more about like in building this product, how did you negotiate what stakeholders you were referencing? How did you break down business problems into smaller pieces? That's the story that I'd be wanting to look for in your case study. And that story, regardless of industry, still totally applies. Now, the more relevant the output of that case study is, like if you built a design in HR tech, uh, ideally it would be like closer to that of fintech if your goal is to pivot into fintech. But we can't all magically have the perfect case studies for those pivots. So now it's just a story. Now it's how we tell that story of that case study project you're working on to utilize and communicate those skill sets that also apply to fintech and health tech. And that's just your storytelling aspect. I think we could totally achieve that.
okay, got it.
Well, let
And
me pause there. How are you feeling about that? Because all of that's really easy to say on paper, but I more or less just said write a case study that targets those things, which is a really like that's a many hour thing to do. How are you feeling about your capability there and the feasibility of doing that?
I mean, rewriting an entire case study is certainly more of a long-term project than a quick fix. And if time allowed, it's not required. After I went over some of the things that I wanted to touch on, I just wanted to see if for a quick minute we could delve into the first case study and see if we could, see if that language was coming across or not.
Tim, let's go to the first case study. I'm looking at it now, and so far, I don't see any friction point here with you attempting to pivot into fintech or health tech. Like this is all currently utilizing language that's more about process than it is about your limitations of HR.
Can we actually talk a little bit more about her positioning right up front on the landing page?
Yeah.
So, Ritika, one of the things that happens when I get on this landing page is that I've landed on your website and I look at your positioning here, which is still it's a very common I guess a very common metaphor. We often talk about puzzle pieces as designers, perhaps that we
Mm-hmm.
put up here. But I also learned almost nothing about you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when we talk about any sort of designer, your name's not in here. There's no
Mhm.
like about you or unique positioning. We have your that you're a designer. You design 0 to 1. I actually let me refresh this. We're seeing that you're designing from 0 to 1. You're doing it one puzzle piece at a time, and you're a UX slash product designer. This is like this could be copy pasted possibly to any portfolio for a
Mhm.
designer. And I'm worried that if people land on here, that the compellingness to click on your case study, which it looks like you have a lot of labels. You even have impacts that are listed here. You have good your use of imagery here that's like actually telling a story here. So like there's a lot of effective things that are happening in how you're marketing maybe a case study. I'm not seeing any of that effectiveness applied for who Kritika is or getting overview. And
Mhm.
so I'd be looking for the addition of maybe like a small paragraph, possibly
Mhm.
like an image or something that's more unique to you. Something that essentially can give me the download, the hook of if I land on Vertica's website, but I don't scroll at all. Um,
Mhm.
Especially if I land here from like mobile, I want to know exactly who you are right out of the gate. I want to see
Got it.
more of your skills or get a better idea of who you are. Use this hero section to really set the frame and the lens for when I get in here, right? So that is like
Mhm.
make a claim up here about like I'm Ritika. I do design for not just some general titles, because startup, that's like
Mhm.
a type of business, right? There's not almost every business. You know, another name for startups is actually called a small business. There's a lot of small medium
Mhm.
businesses out there. B2B, SaaS. These are very like sort of standard industries here. I'd love to see you choose and make more opinions here, and then let those opinions
Mhm.
make decisions that I validate down here. So, for example, this is a balancing speed questions, AI power questionnaire. So flow creation for technical non-creational users. I'd be looking for a piece that says like I'm excellent at this type of thing, and then I scroll down here. I'm like, oh, here's an
Mhm.
example of her being excellent at this type of thing. Of course, it should be
Got
a
it.
thing that you want to get hired for in the future, right? But basically set the problem statement of like, this is what I'm good at. This is who I am. This is like a full, unique picture of me, and then now I get to fill in the gaps. And
Mhm.
I'd be looking to see that. Uh, so that's
Got it.
my little interlude, real quickly before we move away from your landing page.
Okay.
Actually, I want to yes and that. Riddick, I wrote a draft of a value prop that's more along the lines of what we're looking for here, and it's going to require iteration based on your personalization, of course. But it says, "Hi, I'm Ritika. I'm a product designer helping tech startups launch products and secure funding." Let's break that down
Mhm.
for a second. Hi, I'm Ritika. Who you are? I'm a product designer. What you do? Helping tech startups,
Mhm.
target audience, launch products and secure funding. Benefit to that target audience. That's like by the book value prop that very quickly positions you towards something. And that's the structure that we're somewhat looking for. Very quickly positions you, communicates effectively, very quick to read. How you feeling about that? You feel like you can potentially take that format and maybe position yourself a little bit more effectively?
Yeah, I can definitely take the format and try to see how it can fit my goals and my expertise and what I can offer into that. I do have this thing where, there, to be real, there are like two different types of directions that I can go in, and I don't know if you have time to get into that right now. Um, but is it all right if I reach out later on? Like, I'll work on my own draft first, and then.
Yeah, Tim and I are happy to chat after hours, uh, outside of this call as well. Like I've got an ADP list. You're welcome to sign up. Tim, do you have an ADP list account?
I don't have an ADP list account, but I do have a coffee chat. People can grab chats with me through.
Cool. Yep. Happy to talk external to that of this Discord. But if your goal there was like, hey, fintech or health tech, I,
Mhm.
I think we could position you effectively for both of those. Like if we were to modify the
We can
quick
definitely
draft.
we can definitely talk about ways to choose that positioning as well based on some of your historical
Mhm.
stuff. But I feel we digress. We'll run out of time if we continue here. Uh,
Shall we take
Let us
a
get into
quick
that case
shallow
study.
look at a case study just for timing needs?
Yeah. I'll also maybe offer just some quick UI feedback while Nate's warming up
Mhm.
that case study. So one thing we see here is that you have information density in the middle of your website, right? We love this. Good
Mhm.
information density. It's a good funnel when you shape it the right way. We see that your navigation density is on the right side. We have your name over here. Because of the spacing, it looks like there's an element that did not render here. I know that's not the case. This is just the padding that you've chosen, but based on the ratio to padding in your margins here, it makes it look like something should be right here. So my suggestion
Oh,
is take the opportunity, put like a little avatar of yourself here, or if you want, you can use this puzzle piece here. A puzzle piece is pretty generic though, and just remember that the more specific you are, the cooler, the more powerful you'll seem. So even if it's like a custom puzzle piece icon, or but a picture of you is probably the most unique thing that you can probably surface here. Uh, when you get down here, you have images. These images are dense, and then you have
mhm.
information here. I would swap your images and your titles here, because this is this just ends up being like I want to look at this image, and I'm gonna look at the image no matter what. I need to read this, of course, but I'm gonna look at the image. So show me the image first, then let me read the context as I read
Okay,
left or right. So switch the
got
image,
it.
switch this title area. Just let me kind of get a better sense there. And then let's actually get into this case study. Nate, where do you want to
Um,
start here?
I'm so sorry. If you don't mind, if we could go back to the homepage. Quick question. When you said something didn't render, I couldn't see on the screen where you were pointing to.
Oh
I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
we
Okay.
can't see your cursor.
Oh no, what a curse. Okay, so right over here by Hritika, I don't know if you can see that I
Mm-hmm.
have the span highlight. It looks like to the left of this,
Ah,
just to the left of Vertica, there should be a symbol like a logo or
mm-hmm.
something there. It looks like there should
Got
be
it.
something there, but there's not. And I know that's the design that you've done here, but the spatial like the spatial demand of this space is that it looks like something belongs there. Um,
Got
I would so I would put something there. You could of course just shorten it. You could just make that padding go away a little bit. But I'm of the opinion, just fill the space. Just put something there, and then tighten the padding as well. But just let's see. All right. Well, just yeah, I would just instead of me tinkering with it, I would just put something there. Put something there. Let that space get filled up, and let the right ratio for your margins to your bend here kind of work out.
Ritika, I'm looking at the case study. I love this case study. I think you're doing a lot of things correctly here. The storytelling, like you've clearly got a mindset for storytelling here. Your titles of sections are solid. One of the barometers of success Tim and I frequently use to look at case studies is if we remove all the content except for the titles, can we still get a gist for the story you're trying to tell? The objective there to be to confirm that folks who skim your case study, which is most folk, if folks just skim it, do they still understand a story? And I think you're doing a solid job there. The the visual differentiation you have between sections, I think, is also solid. Like you're capturing visual interest as one scrolls through this. I think you're doing a lot of things right. I think we're at a stage in this case study where it's less about telling you what went wrong, and now it's about telling you like, can we find a way to optimize some of these things? And the first thing that I think like one of the only things I'm really looking at is the very top section, the at a glance section, which is just this bento board of content. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a lot to consume, and I'd love to find a way to have a user read that in a linear, orderly fashion. As in, this is the most important thing. Here's the second most important thing. Here's the order of information I want in the order that I want the user to read it. At the moment, I think this has the largest opportunity to like lean more into that storytelling aspect. I'm fearful if we leave it as is, folks don't read any of it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you have metrics though. Uh, for me, when I'm looking at case studies, I'm looking to answer three questions. What's the problem you're trying to solve? How did you solve that problem? And how did you validate success that the problem was solved? I think you're killing how did you go about solving that problem? I haven't scrolled down far enough yet to see if you've solved the measurability here. I think that first problem, the first question is the hurdle now is what's the problem you're trying to solve? It's in that bento board at the top. It's just hiding. And that's a really important section for me to read and I just didn't see it quickly. Do you have a mobile version of this, right? How have you oriented the content on your phone? At a glance.
I don't
Yeah,
have a lot of.
go ahead.
A really big at a glance
Oh,
section.
yeah, that was my take on it, but I wasn't really sure how to translate that to mobile. I was thinking maybe I'll have less details, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure.
The at a glance, what I'm looking for at the at a glance is some context of the project, maybe a screenshot if you're looking for a teaser, and then the housekeeping shenanigans. And you have that. You have the my role timeline, what I did, team. That's the housekeeping stuff. That stuff's awesome for recruiters. I don't know that I need the big ideas or the AI design principles. So those are potentially sections we could relocate if Tim, any challenges with that?
I'm not paying enough attention
Cool.
to disagree or agree right now.
Understood. Understood. Hritika, you're doing a lot of stuff right here. Now it's just honing down the storytelling and the order in which people read the sections. I think you're doing a great job. That's where I'm currently at. Looking at the clock, there is no low-hanging fruit that I think is going to quickly iterate this for high value, except for just the bento box section and making it more linear.
I have a wild thing to bring up to you, Ritika. And this is wild because I know how Framer works. This case study reminds me a lot of AI-generated websites. And I'm wondering if you applied any like feedback or like design direction from AI in this.
I've used AI for content, not so much for the design.
Okay. So one thing that I think is giving me the sensation though is a lack of general consistency across the UI. So the like Nate was saying, and I would totally agree, is that like the content is all relatively valuable, right? We have an impact section. We have two impact sections actually. We've got good problem framing. We've got our feature case study. We've got big ideas here. But I think what I'd be looking for is more consistency. So if you were going to focus on one thing, just make things a little bit more consistent. So like sometimes your spacing, like you have big spacing underneath these, right? So spacing on the bottom, really big. Spacing at the top, not as big. You have lots of different fonts being used. Like sometimes it's a purple problem. Sometimes it is not purple problem. Sometimes it's all caps. Sometimes it is not all caps. Sometimes there is an icon, and sometimes there is no icons. I would look for just kind of bringing a little bit of consistency to how you're doing it, and letting maybe simplifying certain elements in the sense that you unify it across, right? So things should look like they belong together, and then make sure things like have consistent like sizing. So like instead of having my role that's one size versus AI design principles, there's another size. Kind of let these all sit together, or at least kind of follow general ratios and rules, right? So maybe this my role function should be the same size as the new feature case study section on the bento, or something in that regard, where it kind of feels like it's the right size and it kind of fits together nicely. That's my short version. Because Nate's right. There's so much that you're doing right in here that it's now just about like making sure it lands the correct way and you're impacting. And so it's like finding the little UI things about like, this is very inset compared to the other text bodies. It's like this is here, and then like this is a very large. I'll cross. So this text box here is 1205 pixels. Well, we know that the largest size we typically want is going to be close to 800 pixels, like across, because that's just like the right size for readability. And so there's like things that are now about improving the delivery of the information, but the information seems to be relatively strong here, just as Nate said. So great work on this. It's an awesome start. If nothing else, I think if you're using this to casually search, and if you're kind of just improving it as you go, this is a great place to be right now.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Hritika, really appreciate the time and you being willing to hop on stage with us. How you feeling? Do you feel like you've got some actionables to take away?
Yes, definitely. I think the hero section, and I do want to look into the sizing of the fonts and everything that was mentioned, because I was pretty sure that I used styles and everything so that everything would match up well, and I tried to limit the sizes that I used as well, but I guess I'll have to take another look at it.
Classic Framer problems.
Yeah, it could be even that you've applied consistent, like the styles are consistent, but they may not work together quite well, which happens. That's a
Yeah.
normal designer problem, conjunct that you should. I think that's something we're always working on, right? Is unifying interfaces. They tell the story
Yeah.
when they're all in the same room together, which can be surprisingly hard. So no shade, no shame or shade on that. It's just a thing to notice. So
No,
thanks,
no
Ritika.
worries. Thank you so much. Thank you for pointing all the things out. Thank you so much.
Looks like next on the list we've got Naveed. Naveed, if you're out there, raise your hand, or we're gonna come find you through the forest of folk.
Hello, are you able to hear me okay?
If only we were able to hear Naveed. I wonder what they would say. Probably something like, "Can you hear me?" We can hear you. We got you, dude. All right, Naveed, can you tell us a little bit about who you are? Ooh. And then what your goals are for today. And some things that would help us learn about who you are is, what kind of industry you work in, what kind of professional, if you have a job title that you're targeting, and if you already know the specific audience that you're looking for, such as full time, corporate work, freelancing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been a product designer for 4 years now. I guess coming on 4 years. I used to work in healthcare, and then I switched to insurance. So my most recent experience was with Sun Life. Um, and then yeah, so nowadays I guess I really liked healthcare, so I'm transitioning towards healthcare and trying to trying to get a full time work there. I saw you playing around with that. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I'm after. Yeah, that's sort of the short and sweet of it.
Health insurance is my jam, man. I'm currently in the health insurance space. Certainly, are you in the United States?
No, I'm in Toronto.
Gotcha, gotcha. I'm going to speculate that your health insurance system up there. Wait a second, health insurance. So you have a privatized system in Canada as well.
No, it's like half and half, I would say. Like there is health insurance, but like healthcare is covered by taxes.
Right on, right on. I'm in health
Yeah,
insurance
so
in
I was
the.
in healthcare, like a pure health tech company, and then I moved to like insurance.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I'm in the insurance
Yeah.
space, health insurance space in the states. It's a mess, man. It's a it's a mess.
That's what I hear from when I worked at Sun Life, and yeah, the U.S. side of Sun Life was always telling me the same thing. The U.S. team, they're like, "Oh, it's a mess here."
Yeah, we're looking
Like,
to you
yeah.
folks for inspiration. Where do you want us to focus today? So we've got a portfolio here. What are your
Mhm.
goals with this call?
Yeah, so like I guess like I've been working on my portfolio for quite some time, and I almost look at it every day. So I guess I'm sort of like almost blind to it, where I feel like everything is wrong with it. I'm just like, ah, this should change, this should change. So getting fresh eyes on it is always great, and I talk to as many people as I can about it, and like sort of there's always like a general trend. It's like if three, four people have said it, then it's probably true. Sometimes if it's just one person, it's a matter of like personal opinion. So just kind of looking out for that sort of stuff right now.
Cool. Right on. Happy to give you some more qualitative and quantitative evidence, I suppose.
Yeah, of course. Love to hear it.
I might have missed a foundational. Sorry, Tim. Might have missed something foundational. What were you looking to? What title are you looking for?
I'm looking for product design right now.
And what level?
Full time midweight.
Cool. Understood. Tim, I cut you off.
Yeah. So, do you want us to focus? We can do some fresh eyes on your landing page. Landing pages are great for like first impressions, positioning, getting your brand out there, which helps people know who you are. And it does set the tone for the rest of your website. We can also dive into a case study. But the truth is, we'll probably only be able to get into one of these. So, if there are particular areas you'd like us to comment on or kind of get into, you'll have to pick and choose.
Sure.
Where
Yeah.
would you
Let's
like to
do like a
spend time?
general fresh eyes, and then let's do the sunlight case study. I've gotten a lot of eyes on sort of the biomic case study, but let's do the sunlight one.
Okay. So some great stuff. I noticed that on the mobile version of your website, the scale of text and size is pretty good, right? We have a very nicely sized header up here. We've got right size for body text. Icons are about the right sizes. Things feel proportional. Maybe a little bit more spacing could be applied between some of these case studies, but in general, things are the right size. Which I only point out because it feels like on the desktop version, everything is quite large, much larger than I would normally expect to see on a website. Like this is huge. I don't know, Nate. Is that an impression you have? Does this feel large to you?
It's certainly on the larger side, but I don't mind it from an aesthetic level.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe what gets me is that it's very large, and so it ends up being a lot of noise all in the same space here. I guess you can't really see my mouse. I wish I had like a pointer, but like looking at this section, like your name is it's not working either. Your name ends up being very large, and then it's behind also the noisiest element here on the page that people want to interact with. When you have a lot more space just to the right of this, you could use that space a little bit more to kind of have this interaction. And when it obscures your positioning statement here, which is a product designer creating data-informed experiences, we kind of lose a data-informed experience as part of it because of the visual noise that's happening here. There's not enough room for all these elements to kind of get their own heyday, and so they have to share the middle of the screen together. I would probably suggest just separating these out so they have a little bit more room, especially for our mobile experience, where it is like the product designer creating data informed experiences feels super lost in here, and then the UX UI part is like extra large lost because it's that red on the orange, which I did pull contrast for the red on the pale, and that also doesn't pass contrast either. So this ends up being like a really lost element down here. I'd either nix this or try to figure out a way to make it stand out a little bit better. Um, that's a big jumble of words. Nate, can you yes and that, or would you like to take that down?
I'm looking at case study shenanigans now. Yeah, I'd love to. If you're
Worst.
if you're done with the homepage, we can dive into the case study.
Yeah, let's get in there. Okay. So the other thing, Naveed, is if you are looking for product designer roles, I would probably not have two positioning statements here, right? So don't do UX UI and product designer. Just choose one of these. I do think that the UX UI here is a nice little visual asset, but ultimately is not storytelling a lot for you. It takes up more space. If you were to remove this, oh, I guess it's part of your page structure. But if you were to remove that, it would give you more space for this little visual element anyways, or for you to move some of this positioning so it has more space. But general, this is a lot. It's a lot of information to look at right away. You just kind of let them breathe together so that way we can appreciate them. Um, Getting into your Sun Life case study.
Tim, have you taken a look at the hamburger menu? It's wild.
I have. So your menus are quite large. You have pretty good interactions for stuff. Um, Things are very large though, and just remember that when things are large, it limits the amount of things you can see at a time. So just keep in mind that if your goal was for me to take certain actions on this page, I may not be able to see all those actions at the same time.
I think the menu's fun. I agree that it's also quite large. What did you build this in?
So it's actually custom coded. So kind of built everything out in Figma and coded it myself actually.
Dang. Okay. Right on. Your
So
case study.
the homepage,
I'm so sorry I
sorry.
cut you off.
Yeah, the homepage is built with like 3JS, which is kind of like a 3D software. Yeah, plugin at least for JavaScript.
Got it. Okay. Neat. Well, the case study. I think this is potentially the largest area of opportunity and growth that we could potentially focus on. You're doing a lot of stuff here. Like your mindsets here are in the right place. You've got the idea that I've worked on this particular project and I need to communicate the process by which I had built this project. Let's start with some high level things. So there are typically three audiences that are designated to look at your audience, to look at your portfolio. These are the three target audiences. We have recruiters, then hiring managers, and then a tertiary audience currently calling future peers. The recruiter, they'll take a look at your case study, but they are skimming it. They're not taking a deep dive into any of this stuff, really. There are a couple of tricks we can do to assist with them so they don't have like deep understanding of what you do. They're looking at job description A and looking at product designer A and trying to do a lot of keyword matching. So we can potentially assist with those folk by adding some housekeeping shenanigans. So this is the stuff at the very top. It's like, what's the timeline of the project? What was your role with the project? Were you part of a larger team? Who was the client? Like any of that larger housekeeping shenanigans, just so you can insert some of those SEO keywords in there. And that'll help the recruiters out a bit. Now, if we move on to the hiring manager, the hiring manager is going to care about the process by which you solve these business problems. Now, if there was one area on the case study I think is most paramount that we have the ability to work on, it would be the process by which you're solving these problems. At the moment, it feels like you describe what the challenge is, and then you describe real high level, like this approach section here. Tim, if you scroll down slightly, that feels like your process. No, the white box is yeah, there you go. That feels like your entire process dwindles down to a sentence each. And I would love to see each of those things being their own individual sections. Like that section that Tim's looking at right now, that's the entirety, that's 90% of what I would want to look at in your case study. And it's narrowed down to just a few sentences for each one. Would love to see. So let me word this in a different way. I genuinely don't care that much about what your output looks like, particularly in health insurance and health tech. We don't usually build things that look particularly elegant. So like with that in mind, I just don't care about what the output looks like. I want to know how you solve business problems, how you work with stakeholders, how you negotiate business value and break them down into smaller pieces. And that's what the approach section is all about. And that's what I think is the largest missing element from the case study so far. I've got other things I want to talk about, but let me pause there. How are you feeling about that so far? Do you feel like you are potentially actionable or have some capability at expanding these sections and showcasing what that process is?
Yeah, of course. Like when I look back at sort of my time in this project, like, and I look at sort of the different sections on my portfolio, like 99% of my days were spent in this section, right? This approach, like working within the design system, meetings, all sort of that stuff. The challenge was given to me in like the first week, right? Um, so I do understand that bit, but on the other hand, it's like the case study becomes so large at that point. Like even like one paragraph becomes like 8 or 9 different paragraphs, and then like you're scrolling through like a giant page. So I guess I sort of erred on the caution of like, oh, it's got to be skimmable, So yeah, I'd love to get like, yeah, I guess that's sort of my thinking with it. But
I'm with you.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with you. Let me give an answer here, and then I'll throw it to Tim. I love long case studies, and I think if the sacrifice is, well, I don't want to make it too long, but I want to talk about all the things, the length of this case study is the correct sacrifice. The opposite approach is, in your current state, it's just not long enough to showcase any of your actual talent and skill set and process. Therefore, you're disqualified from the position you're applying for. Tim, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, my position has been, I'm fond of saying this. I gotta like trademark this or something, copyright. But your portfolio is a mini you on the internet. And the cool thing about that is that it lets you live on the internet a little bit. So people get to meet you online. The problem is that you're not on the internet actually. So you have to make sure that your portfolio is able to do all the explaining when you're not around. And you're not going to be around when people are looking at this unless you're on an interview. And I think the goal, though, pre-interview, post-interview case study walkthrough, you definitely need to be long, right? Like if you were going to present Sun Life in an interview, which is typically interview number 2, they'll often ask you to screen share and you walk through a case study. It needs to be quite long so you can get into each part of the process and talk about them and validate them. Something like this, when you're talking about like scannability, I think that is the great thing about having a very good overview section and having good like sectioning, right? Is that it's a UX problem of, did you order your information correctly? Is it like good to look at? Is it easy for people to digest? And then the band-aid solution is, well, no, so just make it shorter. And I think there is a time for that. There's a time to make things shorter when they're too long. But in this case, you were trying to fit in so much information here about this project overall. It's just too much. So maybe if you want to say like, yeah, I'm going to talk about the Canada and USA pages in one case study, and then case study number 2 will be the Asia pages. And inherently, they're smaller. You can be more detailed. You can give them proper attention. In this case, though, you're covering such a huge scope of stuff. Like you could probably do just a case study if you wanted to be scannable about design system implementation, just as one case study here. And so you're kind of you're giving us really big pieces, but not giving us nearly enough for each piece. So either decrease the scope of your case study by choosing selective parts to talk about those parts in more depth, split them up into different case studies, or I think you've got to commit fully and people click on Sun Life, they need to know all the things that you're going to claim about with Sun Life. But just keep in mind, like the amount of story, the amount of work that you tell is your own. I have case studies on my own portfolio for different companies that I've worked for, and I'm choosing one project from those companies to put out there. I'm not going to put all of my work under a single employer into one case study. It'd be insane unless I'd only done one project for them. So this is quite a big thing, especially since you start at the outset of your storytelling here by saying, by the way, you can expect to see two phases. You can see a USA phase, Canada phase, and also an Asia phase. So you're already telling us right at the beginning, there's two parts of this case study, and then lo and behold, there's actually not two parts. It's just a summary. This is maybe the introduction to a case study altogether. Here is what I'm seeing. That's my response, Nate. That's how I feel about it.
That was nice, Tim.
Awesome, yeah.
Naveed, I posted in the chat. There's a graphic there. That's a more typical, like if you're looking for what are the sections I should have and what's the format, that's a good barometer to start with. Feel free to augment and iterate that. But that's like if you were to follow that format, you'd hit the important sections.
Then you'd say like even the size, so it's like the key stages would be like a big portion of it.
Dramatic majority. Yeah, that's the key stages are the process by which you solve this. That's your entire approach section, or the key stages.
Yeah. I wonder if like that sounds good. Sorry, I'm just thinking.
If you were to imagine a case study, and you can think about it in terms of the amount of time you want people to think about it. Now, you should use this carefully. But for example, sometimes I think about this case study needs to be something I can show on an interview. Interviews might be 30 minutes of talking about this case study. I want to spend about maybe 30 seconds to a minute talking about each item. So I might say I might need 30 slides for a 30-minute presentation, or I can go down to 15 minutes if I want to pack information for that sort of thing. And then thinking about, if I was on here and I had to talk about this with someone and I was explaining this to them, how much time would it take me to fully explain the timeline and the significance of this section or this challenge? How much time do I want to spend per the challenge here? Is there information here that I've assumed that people will understand or need to understand to make this valuable, or is it not? And so I think if you practice like just going through this, pretending that you're presenting this, you'll probably find a bunch of areas of being like, yeah, that actually doesn't make sense, that I haven't shared enough, or maybe I'm oversharing in a couple places, and then you might find some stuff you want to cut. Or you might also find some stuff where you're like, I see that I would want, if I was telling someone about this, I would actually probably say these other 5 things. And then that those are another 5 things you'll need to include somewhere on this page to contextualize what you're looking at. And I will note, Nate said you don't need visual artifacts. I will take the counter position saying you need visual artifacts. If you are going to link out other people's websites right here, right? This is maybe a worst case scenario. If people are reading your case study, you want them to buy you, right? You're not here to sell me Sun Life. You're here to sell me about Naveed's great work, and Sun Life is an example of it. So we have some framing problems where if I get on here, I'm like, oh, I want to see some of the work that Naveed has done. I can go to project pages. Now I'm on Sun Life's website. And now I'm somewhere else entirely. I've left your website and I may never come back. I might look at this and be like, yeah, I guess that's pretty cool. And then I'm going to go to the next thing I was doing instead of seeing that inside of here where it's like in like a nice little box. You might be able to, you might draw like some little pointers. You might point out some stuff. You might kind of like really walk me through it and be like, hey, here's how I decided this layout here. We put this thing together. This is the implementation style for it, and really owning every single part of it. Make a full meal out of any single one of these pieces, rather than just putting them here and hoping that I realize I can click on these buttons. Which brings me to another point, since I'm going on a rant anyway, is everything on your website hovers. This is don't do this. Do not make things hover
Very
when they
fair.
won't have any interaction or value behind them. Because like it just doesn't need to hover, right? Hover is part of a signifier. It's something we use as an affordance to tell someone that they can do something. There's interactivity here. Uh, these shouldn't really be interactable. It actually makes it harder for me to realize that this is a button because these have almost the same effect, right? It moves, it has a shadow, it hovers. This is a very similar effect, and so I think you're undermining your ability to sell the story for some of these other buttons by making these non-buttons look like buttons or sections. So just a thing to watch out for. Be careful what affordances and visual noise you give people because that's an expectation in a standard that teaches them what to expect later on, and you don't want to betray that expectation.
Yeah, I love all of that. I hope I didn't communicate the that you didn't need visual artifacts. I love visual artifacts. I would love to see much more in regard to the visual artifact side of things.
I also in the chat I put a couple examples where your contrast isn't there accessibility wise. So this is like the example of your UX and your UI. Some of these cards here, like I know that this is a different background. Apparently, this is like a porcelain versus your background. When you have things that are so close and similar color, just nix them. So either give these a full border with no fill color, but don't use really similar light backgrounds that are indistinguishable to the normal user. Otherwise, it just kind of gives you the sense like something's kind of wrong, right? You might scroll down here like, oh, this kind of looks a little bit blue compared to this kind of orange, but I can't exactly tell what's up with it. Just really watch out for that. And then also the black text on the yellow does pass accessibility, I'm pretty sure. It's just yellow is a weird color. I would choose a different color yellow here for these, just so that way it's not kind of, it doesn't look too dark. You want it to feel uplifting and lightweight there. But Naveed,
Okay. Yeah.
there's honestly a lot of stuff to hand you off with, which is not to say you have done a lot of stuff already good. You're doing a lot of things well here. I think you have a good outline, right? You have a good understanding of here's all the things that I should talk about that might be important. We're just looking for a little bit more from it.
Yeah, for sure. No, that definitely makes sense, and I'll definitely watch out for those things. Like, it's definitely like so. I redid my portfolio maybe like half a year ago, maybe 8 months ago at this point, and my old portfolio was kind of the opposite, where it was just this big, lengthy case study and just highlighting everything. And I guess like kind of went the opposite way, but I guess somewhere in the middle is where I need to sort of hone in on.
Well, I
It's
definitely,
tough, like
I don't think your instincts
yeah,
are
because
wrong
you're
though.
working on
I
so
think
many
you're,
projects. You're
yeah,
like,
I
okay,
think
how do I, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. If you look at that example, the little image that Nate had shared, Bruce, there was the context, the outcome, the key stages, a final design, and then impact, learning steps, contact information. I think when you're talking about this, I would actually, I might disagree with Nate's little template there a little bit, and that I think you should make sure that your copywriting in your introduction is so strong that all this information you're worried about someone not getting, like I think this is all like preliminary introductory information, right? Like if I opened a case study and it was a long case study, I want to get the quick stuff. I want to know stuff right out of the gate, right? So you're telling me all this. You might tell me a timeline. You might give me a good challenge section. You might tell me about your approach. And then here's some of your final artifacts that you've designed, right? So you've already given me a very good introduction. It just has to keep going. You just have to now you made all these claims. You told me why I should care about it. You gave me this short summary version just in case I don't read it all the way. But if I do want to read it all the way, there's more I want to know about. If I might read on here and I say like, oh, that's really cool. He has the design system implementation part of his approach. I'm really happy that he told me about this at the very beginning. So now I know what to go look for. But now I want to go look for it. I want to see what you did there because that might be relevant to the team I'm hiring for. So I think you're absolutely right. Like a long case study, the shortcoming is it's hard to find things. It's hard to like get a sense for what information is actually trapped inside of these. And doing something that lets people find that quickly is really important and very valuable. I think you started this. I think this would all be like the abstract, right? I don't know if you've ever written a research paper before, but you use an abstract. It's the last thing you write. It's like a very big overview with like some key findings, some key insights. It's just enough that someone would read an abstract and they might find exactly what they're looking for in that abstract that tells them they should look into the research article in greater depth. And I would look for an abstract at the top of a case study, that kind of thing.
For sure, yeah. Thanks so much.
All right,
Cool.
Nate. I think the time is calling us.
Next on the list, hey, really appreciate you hopping on here with us, Naveed, and appreciate you being willing to share your stuff with us.
Of course, and thanks for taking time out of your day and yeah, just helping people out. It's great.
Tim, next on the list, we've got IsaToyooo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. If you're out there, raise your hand. Otherwise, Tim's going to find you like one of those claw
I've got
machines.
I've got I think Isa.
It's Izzo, but my full name
Isa.
is Isabel. I'm so sorry.
Hello, Isabel. That's who I have on the list. Is that the wrong one, Nate?
No. I don't know. I guess that is because that's not how my name should be looking like, but it's okay. I'll fix it. But my name is Isabel. I'm a little nervous because it's my first time getting well, not my first time getting my portfolio reviewed, but everybody else's was really nice. I'm in my senior year of my human computer interaction degree, and I'm looking to go into UX UI design. And I also do have a resume, but I just listened to the first portion of the stream saying that we need to censor it. So is it okay if I could send the censored version if you and don't click on my resume if that's okay?
You mean don't click on this button right over here? Don't
On
don't
the
don't
resume.
click on this.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. You can do that.
Okay, thank
You
you.
also don't need to censor it. It's just be aware that this is recorded, and if you wanted to safeguard that, obviously your resume is on the internet. Just in case you didn't know
Yeah.
that, and people will probably click on it. Anyone on this call could go look at it. It's just a matter if you're comfortable with that being recorded. Some people aren't.
Okay.
So
I also did want to note that during one of my portfolio reviews, I was told that to remove the first section where it's your image and then what who you are. So I was working on that because I guess it was a little distracting. So that's not there just yet.
okay. Uh, as well, there's a little more information I want to know about you first, if that's okay.
Uh-huh.
So when we talk, did you want to? Sorry, maybe I missed it. Did you want to talk about your website? Or did you want to talk about your resume? Because we're probably going to choose one or the other at a time. And then we can see you
Okay.
in a following week to talk about the other one.
Okay, then I'll just focus on my website.
Okay. For your website and just some context for us, I would love to know more about your specialty and more about like the specific skills or audience that you're trying to get into. Sometimes for some people that is healthcare. If you're like Nate, you do like healthcare insurance stuff, or maybe you're a little bit more on the side of you want to work for certain technology companies or maybe even AI dominated fields. I'd love to know more specifically about this audience that you're looking for, and then how you fit into there, and a little bit more about you, just so I have the full lens before I dive in here, because I'm not a good mind reader, unfortunately.
Okay.
It's a skill I wish I had. I just don't have it.
I would like to get into the tech field, so I would like to get into anything that's tech. And my case studies, there've been personal projects just because I haven't landed an internship throughout my university. Um, and I haven't read too much in because I know the tech field there's so many niches to it as well, and I wouldn't mind working for a startup or for a bigger company, but of course I would love to better my portfolio if I were to get into a bigger company.
Okay. So what I'm hearing so far is that you are currently a university student.
I'm sorry.
You're currently a university student.
Yeah, it's my last year. I have two classes in the summer, but August is when I would
Congratulations.
get my diploma. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm hearing you are graduating from university very soon. You are
Mhm.
looking to enter the UX. It looks like UX or kind of tech in general, though, from probably under a UX or UI design lens, if your website's not lying, um,
Uh-huh.
with maybe some dabbling in graphic design or research. And so you have some projects on here, but you're hoping that your portfolio tells a story that helps you get your foot in the door for some of this.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Nate, what else do we need before we kind of get into here? Um, if you've got any questions for Isabel right
I don't
before
know if I
I
have
guess
any.
it's also go for it, Nate.
Okay.
You first.
I want to do the Spider-Man meme there where we just point at each other. I don't know if I have any other questions for you. I'm hearing that you're a student and that with students typically comes a little bit of ambiguity in regard to the direction that one wants to take their career. And oftentimes the goals of direction, while great on paper, we get more stumble into the directions that we go. Healthcare, in my case, of which I am glad to have landed, but I didn't choose it specifically, but I'm here now. Was there any? I'm seeing at I'm looking at your portfolio and I'm seeing some stuff dedicated to UX, some dedicated to graphic design. Would it be accurate to say you're attempting to target UX in general as you move forward?
Yeah. Um, and it's also a little confusing because I know some companies they do UX/UI design. So I thought it was like important to also showcase my design skills as well. So because I do have an associate in like graphic design. I was
Hmm.
wary if like I should even leave the graphic design up there, but I got my portfolio reviewed by one of like my professors, and they told me that I do showcase some important like skills for like UX design, so to just leave it there and just to make a separation for it. So that's why I have like a UX design and like a graphic design portion.
Got it. Understood. So let's talk about mindset real fast then. Your portfolio will be the primary asset utilized to position you for the next job that you're attempting to get, with the exception of your resume. Now, resumes are unique in the sense that we're able to custom and tailor them for every individual job description. Portfolios, we can't. They're catch all resources. And with that comes the sacrifice of you kind of have to choose how you want to position yourself and stick to that position, in which case we no longer have the ability to say, oh, I'm a graphic designer, but I'm also a UX designer, and depending on the job, I could do one or the other. So now where the mindset is at is like, let's say you've got the skill set for both of those things. Let's say you're totally capable, super skilled at all of that stuff. Now the consequence is how do people perceive you when you're applying for jobs? Let's say you're applying for a health tech position, or you mentioned tech, so like a fintech startup, something like that. And we get multiple resumes in, you being among them, and you're positioning yourself as a generalist. I can do graphic design and UI design and UX design, and I can do all of those things. But then another resume says, I'm a UX designer that specializes in fintech. You will likely get outbid for that position. So it becomes the sliding
Okay.
scale of how generalized do I want to position myself versus how specialized do I want to position myself. And where you are on that scale comes with advantages and sacrifices. All the books behind me, many of about 50% of them are marketing based. That's my background is in marketing. All of the marketing books would heavily imply that you move towards specialization. And what that ends up being for you, I imagine you'll learn that along the way. But at the moment, if you know you have a desire for tech, and if we can even lean more into that and say like a desire for enterprise tech, or then throw an industry in there, enterprise tech in the healthcare space, the more specific we can be, the stronger your resume and positioning becomes, better equipping you for outbidding other people for the jobs you apply for. How is that sounding
Okay.
so far? Is that making sense?
Yeah. So are you suggesting I shouldn't leave up my graphic design work then?
I'm suggesting that you may want to choose one or the other. And if your goal is UX design, let's just drop graphic design from your portfolio entirely and let's focus very specifically on UX.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't showcase graphic design skills. It just means that we will position your graphic design a little bit differently. So there's like the order of things that you show things to your user. That's such a bad sentence. The order in which people get information from you about you determines the importance and the significance that they weigh it with. So, for example, if you are focusing on UX design, but you put graphic design first over here, this leans towards your graphic designer who might have who might have like some UX design adjacent skills. Although I did notice that you're actually an HCI student, so you have an HCI degree in coming. That's great. Um, if you default people to showing like your very first projects up here are UX design projects, they're going to default to thinking you're a UX designer or UX researcher, and graphic design maybe secondary if you have those projects under there. So just giving the order of operations makes a difference for what people see as important or valuable for you.
Okay.
And I think designers, all designers, would benefit from having UX design experience, especially if you have an associate degree. That's something you can totally tout and be proud of and show. It just matter. It's just going to be a difference of will you put graphic design as a large item on your menu bar, or are you going to go UX design and then have like a section that says graphic design centric projects, something that kind of shows that it's more graphic design centric, but it's still written for a UX audience.
Okay, so should I maybe put the UX design and then the graphic design like together in a way? Or should I keep or just get rid of it?
I've got some
So
thoughts
Nate
here.
will probably have a slightly different opinion from me. I think my opinion is going to be that you make your UX design page something of your default project, right? That you put all of your UX design projects into the one place. So this could be like your homepage, and on this homepage, all of your UX projects are shown, all of your UX position is made. And then underneath that could be a section that has like graphic design projects or like curiosities, something to the extent of your primary story is your UX design work. When people come to your website, though, they're already going to be looking for your work. So if you think about like this page here, this is your landing page. It has your projects on it. I'm not sure what the unique value of having a separate page for all the same projects actually is. I don't know if it's actually worth having a menu bar item that is the same thing but slightly less information about you, when the thing that we're trying to sell on your website is you. We're trying to sell Isabel. We want people to see Isabel as the greatest UX designer or other thing of all time. And so I don't actually know if this is even valuable having its own little sections. And if you wanted
Mhm.
maybe a little graphic design, like a little submenu item, I would just deprioritize it to like the farthest right corner, or somewhere where it's not like a main option for people to look at, but could still be something they might be able to find.
Okay.
Hey, Isabel, let me ask you. As we look through your UX case studies, are we able to see your graphic design talent in your UX case studies?
In my UX design stage, yeah, there's actually a part where I do like some UI aspects. So then I also include that, like the iconography. Like I did that myself.
Yeah, okay. Cool. So I think this is along the right mindset then. Like we are already understanding your graphic design skill set embedded within your UX case studies. If I were to dramatically state it, if we were to take your portfolio exactly as it is now and just remove the graphic design tab, you are now a stronger candidate as you apply for UX jobs. And that's a dramatic thing to say. Tim, do you have a disagreement with that statement?
I do not. It's a strategy thing, right? So as you choose something more fully, you become a little bit more centric of that thing, right? So this is about like choose someone who is not a master of anything, but kind of good at some things, or is a master at specific problems that you're solving for. And job titles tend to, by default, put people in positions where it's better to be really good at your job title than it is to be good at several job titles. Although there are positions that are unique and cater a little bit differently, but that's not most of the time.
Yeah.
Is
So,
it okay that my for the UX design I just have 3 case studies then?
yeah. Yeah, 3 case studies is perfectly fine. I would also argue that those with more than 3 case studies narrow it down. Like 4 is also a good number, but there is little benefit to having more than that. For the most part,
I see.
recruiters, hiring managers are just going to click on the very first one and they'll never read the rest of them. That's the majority of the
Oh,
audience that's visiting your website.
okay, okay.
Yeah, I am seeing some people in the chat kind of raise the question about like why remove it. I think it's important to say it's not about removing the work here, right? We don't want people to. It's not that we don't want Isabel to have any graphic design work on her website. It is just about how we package this information. So what I'd be looking for is if Isabel has like great graphic design work, can she reposition some of these stories to be more UX design centric or kind of fit the goals of her other stuff. So it feels like it's a little more integrated into UX design. If Isabel wants to be hired as a UX designer, she should focus on telling a story that perfectly aligns with her as a UX designer, not necessarily her whole entire life skills, of which there might be many things, right? Like, I don't know, maybe Isabel's a great piano player. I don't know, maybe she is. Maybe she's awesome at pickleball and other things. She could have tons of skills that are valuable to who she is, but aren't necessarily part of the story that we're trying to tell that gets her a UX design position or makes her a strong UX designer. And so we want to wrap all those other skills and things under the same umbrella to support the main narrative that Isabel is the greatest UX designer of all time. And in each of these case studies, we'd want to highlight and use these case studies to bolster the work that she's doing as that. And so if she has some graphic design background and history, let's see if we can collapse some of this into her UX design area. And then let's see if we can go into some of these projects and say, well, we removed the graphic design highlight here. So can we increase the graphic design highlight within her UX design stories and make sure that is like a strong differentiating skill that she has, rather than being a competing narrative. We do not want people to come here and mistake Isabel, the greatest UX designer of all time, as a graphic designer. We want people to see her as a UX designer, and she might have some graphic design skills that really support her and make her a stronger candidate.
Tim, I want to yes and this. Is that okay? Do we have time?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's an important thing. This is a really important thing. So,
Right.
guys, anytime you have to make choices, you have to follow a strategy. And a strategy is not being the best at everything. Strategy means you choose what things you want people to see, and you tell the story specifically on those things. You have to choose what you want to be the best at, which means you have to be less good at other things inherently.
There's a marketing fundamental here. And when I talk about marketing, a lot of folk perceive marketing as like advertising and sales. And know that in this context, when I say the word marketing, what I'm really describing more is positioning and branding. Now, one of the very first fundamentals you learn within the marketing space is that marketing is not a battle of product. The product is dramatically less relevant to your marketing efforts than you could possibly imagine. The marketing is a battle of perception, not product. So what we're trying to build is, how do people perceive Isabel and the work and skill set that she has? She could be perfectly good at 40 different job titles, but if we tell a hiring manager, hey, Isabel, she's dope at UX design, she's dope at graphic design, she's also a really awesome architect, she's been an astronaut for a few years, and she's been a firefighter for a few years before that. The perception from the hiring manager is going to be, well, she can't possibly be good at all those things. Therefore, she's probably a weak UX designer, as well as a weak astronaut and a weak firefighter. Now, that's an extreme example. If we were to just say, hey, Isabel, she's a phenomenal UX designer and a phenomenal graphic designer, that mindset still applies. We're now thinking she's lesser in both of those things, despite having really no idea of how skilled she is in either of those things. So that's the ultimate mindset shift here. This is all a battle of perception. It's not a battle of how good Isabel is or the product that she has. We're just targeting perception here. That's my diatribe. That's my little diatribe's not the right word, but that's my spiel.
I will add, Isabel, I think we're gonna have to keep moving forward. But I would like to add some quick insights for you that might help a little bit. So Nate and I are talking about might be the most extreme version, right? Is double down on being a UX designer, which means letting go of graphic design as a highlighted section. What you should do, absolutely, and this may help improve things too, is you need to create a section here at the top of your landing page that is opinionated. I would love to see your website move towards an opinionated flow, right? Where up here, you have about, graphic, design, and resume. These are all equally weighted essentially, except for going from left to right. The things on the left side are slightly more important than the things on the right side, which means that your home button right here in the middle is maybe even like the least weighted item in terms of importance here, when this should probably go more to the left side, so it's a little bit more important. I would love to see some opinions inside of your navbar, right? So maybe choosing to have some of these grouped over, I don't know why that's invisible, but maybe having some of these in a position where you can kind of control the order a little bit more, where you might say this is my work over here. I might have an about section. I might have a graphic design section over here, right? So if you automatically introduce an opinion, you have yourself over here. We're creating a better navigation, so we know where we are a little bit more. We're on your homepage. We can go to your about page. We can go to your UX design page, your resume, etc. Something that may also help too is give us an opinion at the top of this, at the top here, for who you are. Tell us who you are right at the beginning of your homepage. Say, hi, I'm Isabel. I am a, and then tell us directly what you're aiming for. I am a UX UI designer. I am a UX researcher or something of that nature. Give us like a very short 1 or 2 sentences. Introduce us to you. You have this kind of here at the. You see the picture of you at the bottom, which is fine. But something up here that helps me understand the lens that I should be looking at your website through. This will also help with people who are against the idea of removing graphic design from your website entirely. If you wanted to bundle it over here and just have a very strong opinion at the front, right? Say, I am a UX UI designer. I have a degree in HCI. I took an associate's in graphic design. This helps contextualize that already. So now you can have a stronger narrative about you are a UX designer who just has graphic design support skills underneath that. But we're missing that section that helps us understand that. And instead, now it's up to us to question which one you really are or which one you're really good at, since there are many graphic designers who try to go into UX design but don't necessarily have the right storytelling methods. And we don't want them to perceive that, since you are actually a UX designer with HCI degree and your projects are all UX design focused with some graphic design skills that underline support that.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop.
So should everything that you just told me, only because it's a little hard because I don't know, I can't see your mouse, but do I write all of that in the about page or where there's like the picture of me all the way at the bottom?
So like where you should put this like little intro, this little hook.
Yeah, like should I put that like at the bottom page where I have like myself and the little splurge about me?
There's a portfolio that I often go to. I'll show it here. The main thing is that with this portfolio is, one, this is not a perfect portfolio, and this is also not someone you should feel intimidated by. With that out of the way, if you look here, Danny, this is Danny's website. Danny's a cool person. Danny is a visual and product designer. And you can see here that she gives us the frame right away. She does a lot of graphic design, but she's going to package that not as a graphic designer, but as a product designer who has also visual design skills. And she's telling us the lens to look at her website through. And so this is what we'd be looking for, is some way for you to focus the narrative that you are a UX UI designer. And you have skills that support and help that narrative. And you see here that Danny's not going to say, here's my graphic design work, here's my UX design work, here's just my work. It's just the work that she does. And then when you get into her work, you look at projects, she's showing off the graphics, she's doing show not tell. So obviously she's a great graphic designer in a sense, but she's also talking about her process as a UX designer, as a product designer, and kind of working through this. So for your website, what we're looking for is for you to unify all of your storytelling in such a way that encapsulates your projects all together holistically. Uh, and instead of saying, I have some graphic design, I have some UX design, and now I have two places to look at you through, give me one lens, one focus to look at you through. Tell us about what that lens is and why you can bundle these things together. And then inside your case studies, show off both of those things under the lens and the storytelling that you want to get through.
Okay, that was so helpful with the portfolio that you showed me before. Like I get it. And yeah, I'll make sure to like check through my graphic design work because I got that I did get that reviewed and they did tell me like I did I guess talk about it in the lens of a UX designer the way I broke everything down. So I'll just make it like put it together but not like too many projects because I know for my graphic design I have 4 projects. Then my UX design there's like 3. So I feel like I need to like pick and choose.
Absolutely. People have a selective amount of time. If you show them the entire world, uh, it's just kind of the thing that's better to give them an opinion, right? Make a choice for them, but make sure it's the right choice for them. If you're applying for UX design roles and that's what you want to get, show them the roles that support that narrative the most. Not necessarily everything you've ever done, but just the roles that support it the most. So you might show them you might show them this project here where you have your UX UI designer. You're like, this is my strongest project. I will show it first. My second strongest project, I will show that third. And then you might say, well, if they've read these two projects, maybe I want to show a third project that's like a little bit different, that shows like a different side of skill sets. And so I'm going to choose a third project that's a little bit different, or maybe slightly more graphic design coded, just so I can make sure I have that ability to show on my website about the skill, even though it's not my main narrative, my absolute focus here. But I would probably not go more than, I think five is almost like too many, right? Five is like a lot. Four is a good number. Three is probably the minimum you'd want. I think five or six, you just don't want to go much farther than that, because then you're presenting too many choices to a person. You don't want to overwhelm them. They want to learn about you. You're going to choose some very strong stories to tell them, and you just don't want them to get lost in there. You want them to make decisions about you, right? The ideal outcome of someone looking at your portfolio is not that they read your portfolio and they read your portfolio and they read your portfolio and they read your portfolio. It's that they read your portfolio and they want to talk to you more about some stuff that they've read in their portfolio, or about some things here. So you don't need to put your entire life here, but you just need to tell the story that gets you in the door so people want to
Okay.
talk to you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Isabel, appreciate you hanging out with us today. Really appreciate the time.
No problem. Thank you so much, guys.
Tim, we are getting down to the bottom of the list today. We've got time for one more review. Folks, if you are new here, let me talk about that in a second. Tim, the next on the list we have is Gemachu or Gemachu. If you're able to find them, I don't think they're with us anymore.
They're not with us anymore. They moved on.
Next on the list would then be Sadia,
Who's also moved
Sadiya.
on.
Cool. Yep, we're getting
She's not
down
here
to it.
anymore either.
Next is Kiyama, who I think has notified us that they've taken off. And then Bishop would be next on the list.
Who's also gone.
Cool.
And so many fallen soldiers here.
Chet.
Chet is here.
Wow, look at you. Cool. As Chet, if you're there, feel free to raise your hand. Oh, Tim's got you already. For the folks in the rest of the call, this will be the last thing we're able to review today. If you would like your stuff reviewed in the future, come hang out with us every Friday. We start at Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to make sure we take a look at your asset, you'll want to arrive a couple minutes early, 5-10 minutes early, just to make sure your link is one of the very first ones. This will be, I think, the fifth one we've gotten to today, so we don't get to that many every Friday. Tim, any last words that I'm forgetting there before we dive into Chet stuff?
No, let's get in here. Let's do it. Chat, tell us a little bit about who you are, and hopefully we're saying your name right. Actually, I hope that's the case for you. But tell us a little bit about who you are, what your focuses are, and then maybe some of your goals today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I actually didn't expect to make it into the slot. This is my first time here. So, yes, my name's Chet. I have a bit of a less linear path into design. I've worked with customer facing roles. I've worked with engineers as a scrum master, gained a lot of interest and mentorship in my previous roles as a designer. And so now I'm actually looking to, I've been in the workforce for quite a while, but I'm sort of looking to pivot more into a product UI UX design kind of role. So that's a little bit about me and kind of where I'm at, looking more in tech, sort of for like, I guess, entry-ish / mid-level type of position.
Entry to mid-level.
Cool.
Okay.
And you said entry to mid-level product design. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Perfect. Oh yeah, it says right there. It's one of the very first things on your portfolio. Perfect.
So strong. Where would you like to focus today, Chet? Do you want to focus on like your landing page, some of your initial positioning, or do you want to get into maybe a certain case study, talk about other stuff? Where would you like us to be for you?
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of just overall the first impression, and then maybe that first case study would be really helpful.
Chet, I'm looking at the aesthetic of your portfolio. What's this aesthetic called? There's a name for it, isn't there?
If there is a name for this particular aesthetic, I'm not sure what it would be called. No, it's a digital art kind of appearance and aesthetic. Honestly, it's got some aspects of like It's kind of blending some pixels, kind of blending some realism a little bit. Mostly stylized uh, pixel digital art style though.
There's a word. Chat, help me out here. It's similar to that of like the Figma visual identity style. The
Yeah,
chat'll know.
yeah. I guess so. No, I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure how you would describe the style. This was from a framer template that I tweaked a bit, tweaked the colors, something a little bit more me. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the template as long as you use it the right way. So, Chet, we have a strong visual identity though. It's strong enough that it stands out. It is also clean and consistent enough, right? So like it all works together pretty nicely. So that's good. Sometimes we see visual identities that don't work together nicely. Uh, we have a nice little hero section. It's about you. Does this actually pass contrast though? Curious to see if this black and this blue work. It does pass contrast. It's a little dark. You could probably benefit from just lightening this background a tiny bit. But that might be nitpick. Let's see. If we go to our HSL and we say we want it to be maybe 80%, something a tiny bit more lightweight, just so it's a little bit there. That might be a benefit to you. But your mileage will vary. Your mileage will vary, and that's up to you. We do see right here you have your positioning. We see your name. We see you. We see that you're a product designer. I think this is maybe a little bit generic product designer that excels at establishing strong empathy-driven relationships with users and developers. But I think you're also choosing to establish your partnership side. So I think that you've made a choice here to say that of the skills that product designers have, this is a skill you're particularly good at. That's totally fine. Then you have solving problems by day, stressing over sports team at night. I think this is also a nice little humanizing statement. And it works. I think it's good. There's obviously one thing portfolios will never be done with is the copywriting. It'll take us to the grave, honestly. There's always ways to improve copywriting forever and ever and ever.
God, it
So
never ends.
It never ends. So I think this is definitely a good place to be. And maybe as you develop, as maybe things go on over time, you might change over things. We do have, this is what I consider one of the 7 deadly sins of UX design portfolio websites. And Nate may just laugh at this. It may not be that big a deal to him, but I see a lot of designers will try to put quotes from people or like design philosophy statements, and unless they're carefully chosen or packaged correctly, they just don't land. For me personally, this could be just me being cynical, but I've come in here to buy Chet. I don't want to see the words of other people on Chet's website. I want to see Chet's words, and especially I don't want to see Chet's words. I want to see Chet's work. And about who they are. And so I would love to see these things rather than having them told to me. But I do think in terms of like how you've done this is relatively low in the totem list of crimes. But I do question if this is actually an effective storytelling piece for you. If this is basically doing you as good as you hope it would do for you, versus just getting straight into your work here. We do have good hover state. You're using a button for hover state. It's fine. Maybe your titles will be an item that we can talk about a little bit more. I wanted to point out very quickly that at the bottom, you do have a hover state for your about in your footer. The hover state for your footer is non-usable. That is, I hover on these items and they disappear because they become the same color as the footer. So that might be a thing to address just from a usability standpoint. You also do have a hover state for your LinkedIn, your Behance, and your Instagram. That hover state is also too subtle. It is not enough of a contrast difference between the original state for it to be effective. But I do note that it's there nonetheless. Nate, what do you got on this page? What are you finding so far?
For homepage stuff, I think so. I'm looking more at the functionality here, Chet. And in regard to the target audiences, hiring managers, recruiters, future peers, I think you've got all the sections that I'm looking for here. You start with the value prop. Tim already talked about how it could potentially be improved in regard to specificity, and I agree with that. I'm not as dramatic about the quote at the top, but I also think it's just a distraction from the case studies. The case studies are listed next. That's what all the folk are looking for, so I think you're doing great there. I think this is just like functionality-wise, you've got all the sections I want to see. I think this is fine. I think this is great. For me, Tim, the next stop I would want to go to are the case studies themselves, unless you had more to discuss.
I did find sometimes on templates, people will put links to the template website. Just note that the made in framer little thing has a link outgoing to that other part. Uh, and that might just be something you want to remove unless you're okay with it being there. Just as long as you know that there is a link hidden inside that little made in framer text inside your footer. Because sometimes they hide them, they don't tell you about them. I want to see on this web page. So I'm looking for the three J's. I'm looking for a jolt. I'm looking for a journey. I'm looking for a jackpot. The jolt is basically the hook. It tells me why things matter. It is the visual aesthetics. It is basically the reason for me to feel compelled to get into this. The journey part of it is basically showing that there is going to be a process. You're establishing a problem framework. You are bringing me through the steps of it. And then the jackpot is going to be the reward that I get for it, the reason that it's awesome, and that I feel good for doing it. I should feel like I've done a good thing by going with you on this. So going into here and some of these, I'm not experiencing the jolts for your case studies. I don't feel compelled to click on them. We do have a little bit of visual design. It's hard to tell what's happening inside this visual design. As far as I can tell, this is just a long list of toggles, and then there's some UI behind it. So maybe this is not as compelling as it could be visually, but also your titles. This is a really easy thing to do in terms of like leveling up your case studies selectors, is making titles that are designed to communicate value. So you might say personal task selector redesign, which is empirically probably true. But what you could also write this as is an impact first, talking about what was accomplished, and then maybe what you did, and then who you did it for. So this could be like improving task selection for, but like, maybe you'll say like a number of like big 500% increase in task selection effectiveness and accuracy for 5,000 users within the QuickTime app experience. Something to this extent, right, where you're talking about like, here is the summary version of this. If I don't even click on this case study, because you have four of them, I may not have time to read all four of them. You can give me the quick summary version of, here is the proof that I'm a good UX designer because I can tell you exactly the impact that happened. I can tell you who I was doing it for, and I can tell you what I did to accomplish it. All wrapping it together, and that is a good jolt for me. That is a reason for me to care. It is a reason for me to feel compelled to explore this more, to learn more about it, rather than just a very empirical, straightforward little personal task selector redesign, which does not feel super compelling to click on or particularly interesting between all three of these, because you have two designs right here, redesigns. If you could tell me the difference between these, though, even inside the title, that helps me make a choice about which one to click and which one's the right fit for me. Is that okay feedback for you so far? Does that even make sense to say that?
Oh yeah, that's super helpful feedback. And I really like that you mentioned the Jolt journey and jackpot. It was funny because I had gotten some feedback from a friend who, on my landing page, I had my case studies, and then beneath it, you could keep scrolling, and there was more like about me, about the background. And the feedback I had gotten was like, just put your case studies on the home, put some of those other things in your about page. So I'm curious if do you feel like that's a accurate framework? Do you feel like having some of that stuff still on the homepage underneath the case studies is still a good idea?
I think it is okay to include some small things about you. But just like with any product, it is good to make an opinion and to show that opinion to the users. So if I land on your website, I've come to your website probably from a job application, or maybe it was on like a list of people I'm reviewing for hiring. The opinion that you're giving me is that, hey, let me tell you really quickly who I am and some of my skills, which is great. Now I have the right lens. Like, oh yeah, so I was looking for product designers. This guy is actually a product designer. That's great. Then you're showing me the work. You're anticipating that the second thing I want to know is not just who you are, but I want to see the proof of your skills, which matters a lot inside of a job, right? That's what you do at work, is you do the work. Then I get to see how you think, and I get to see your work. And it's possible that I might open these in a new tab. I might look around, or maybe you're going to say like, well, what if someone's not convinced that they want to read this, right? If this is where you do good product reasoning, where you say the most important thing for someone to do on this page is to read my case study. What are some reasons they wouldn't want to read my case studies though? And you could say, okay, well, let's address all the problems why someone wouldn't want to read my case study. And you say, all right, we're now going to put we're going to put a new section right underneath this, a more about me button, or something under here, right, that says, why wouldn't someone want to read this case study? What are some more things they could do that bring value? What other things are they looking for? And you can just start adding some of those very brief sections, and you can attach secondary opinions about what they should do first. So you could be like, hey, like, the more about me button is a great anticipation. You're saying, well, why wouldn't someone want to click on this? Maybe they don't know enough about me yet. You say, all right, well, you can learn more about me. Maybe there's an opportunity. Some people take this opinion. I'm not necessarily saying this is true, but maybe like they just don't know which one to pick because I might have a lot of projects. So you might have a button that says like random project, right? So you get to read about a random project. I think it's a bad idea. Don't do that. But you could do that if that was the problem you're solving for. But something in that regard. So you can extend this a little bit more, especially if you want to do things like you might want to surface. There's some SEO strategy that's kind of good there. Like web crawlers will read what's on a page. So if you want to add more keywords about yourself or about the work you do to this homepage so people get here more often, you can add some very small paragraphs, or not like tiny paragraphs, but like a couple sentences here and there that talk more about some of those things so you get surfaced a little more in search engines if people are looking for you, or if they might be like, maybe they're asking AI to summarize who you are based on your homepage. You might want to add a couple more things in here so people know those things and they surface skills about you. But overall, the most important thing is this work section. So I think that's probably a good place to be, is the work selection.
So, thank you.
I want to talk about some
Right,
case
so-
studies. Oh,
Let's do it. Let's get into some case studies. I was going to ask if you have anything else here.
Chet, I got
we'll
things.
Click the first one.
yeah. So we can take a look at the first one. I've looked through all of them so far, and I think they can be summarized if we just want to look at the first one. Chet, by the way, cool eclectic background you got there. I too, certified Scrum Master, though I think my certification has long since expired. I think I went with the wrong organization for my certification. Which one did you go with?
I went through Scrum Alliance.
Is that the
There's a lot
one?
of different org that do certifications, so I'm not sure. I've seen some different organizations too, but yeah, mine was through Scrum Alliance. So.
Yeah, I think that's the better one. I think I went through scrum.org, and I think that was the wrong one. That was like the more profit-oriented one. But to be fair, I didn't pay for the certification. That was my work at the time.
Yeah.
You got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of good stuff going on. We've given you critique over the last 15 minutes or so. And one of the fears I have with that volume of critique is that it sort of foreshadows. No, it masks all the good things that you're doing, of which you're doing many. So I just wanted to give you kudos there. There's a lot of good things going on here, and I love the visual style. And I think your mindset in regard to your positioning here is doing a lot of good stuff. Where my mind is next is if we take a look at your target audiences of hiring managers, recruiters, and then that of future peers, I think your case studies are probably the largest area of opportunity for growth then. And the one that Tim's looking at now, I think showcases some of the friction that I'm looking at. I would argue you've currently got two sections in this case study. Number one is what's the problem, and then number two is the solution. And in regard to all your other case studies, they seem to follow a similar format here. Now, this particular flow of information, I would argue positions you as an executable person. You are a person that publishes outputs of some kind. You're very execution focused. And thus, because of that current story, you're positioning yourself closer to that of like a UI designer than you are of a UX or in your case, a product designer of your goal. So if the goal is product design, I would love to see way more process stuff going on here. So like I love that you have the solution, but if a hiring manager is looking at this, I kind of don't care that much about what the solution is. What I really care about is how you broke down business problems, how you negotiated stakeholders, how you went about breaking down pieces into smaller chewable bites, that sort of stuff. How are you feeling about that? Do you feel like as you've built these things, do you have some of those process assets that you're able to showcase here?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting feedback. When I first developed the portfolio, it was very text heavy, like I had a lot on there. And so the feedback I had originally gotten from some folks was like, have more visuals, maybe reduce the text because to your point, I think you mentioned earlier, like recruiters might be only looking at one case study. They may only look at it for like a few minutes, if that. But that's interesting. So maybe still striking a balance between having enough on there specifically for the process without maybe like too much text, you would say too, like 'cause that's kind of the trap I don't want to get caught in
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, I appreciate your mindset there. There's a piece of rhetoric that I commonly give out that I often hesitate giving because I feel like it potentially is misunderstood. The rhetoric is your case study should be closer to that of like a children's picture book than that of an essay. The reason I hesitate saying that is because I think what people receive from that is, oh, I should just not include text in my case study. And that's really not what I mean. What I'm describing is I'm a big fan of long case studies, lots of content case studies. The hurdle then becomes, well, if most people skim your case study, we know they're not reading all that content. So how can we make it more consumable to that of skimmers? And the general flow is they'll take a look at the titles of each of your sections. We should incorporate heavy storytelling into those titles, like looks like he's about to showcase here. And then as people skim through your case study, they'll likely find a section that they want to read more into. So they'll pause there, they'll take a look at that, and then they'll go back to skimming afterwards. And that's the conundrum. How do we make the case study still somewhat consumable for that of skimmers and still tell the story that you're wanting to tell? So when I say it should be closer to a picture book, what I really mean is, well, let's write a bunch of content, and then can we find a way to pivot that content into like imagery? I don't necessarily want to remove the content, but I want to tell it in a different way. And images are so persuasive and so communicative at communicating quickly. They're just too powerful to ignore. Skimmers can still get a lot of information through imagery. So now it's just like the problem of how much content can we put in your images and still tell that story. That's an abstract notion. How is that sounding so far?
Yeah, so sort of like still maybe following a flow of problem solution process, things like that, but then using those titles to kind of capture the attention more, and not just stating what the problem was, but like to your point, you're writing here things like the inconsistency, the user error.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Do I still have this is, let's see. Tim, I'm going to take over the screen for a second.
Right.
This is the immediate last portfolio we were looking at, and I don't want to suggest that this is the perfect solution to showcasing that kind of stuff. But what I'm looking here, what I'm wanting to communicate
You've
here
got
is
two sounds.
Oh,
Double sound.
there we go. Now you should only be hearing me one time.
That's right.
What I'm wanting to showcase here is that this particular case study demonstrates they have imagery and they're attempting to showcase part of this section with that imagery. So it's like they still have content, but they're also expressing the process through the images. And like this, they're showcasing here in this case what looks like some sort of Miro board. And like that's a really hard thing to explain in textual content. Hence why the image is so good at communicating that. And if I scroll a bit, they've got other portions of the process also expressed in images here. Look at that homepage architecture of some kind of site architecture, user flows. So it's like those kind of assets that I'd be looking to better understand in your storytelling and case study. Do you have like any of those assets you're able to showcase?
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. Yeah, I think I definitely could kind of have those visuals to be able to like tell that story and
Heck yeah.
have like a minimal amount of text to still back it up and kind of complement it.
Yeah, Tim, I'll pass the screen share back to you. Yeah, those images of those processes, just so, like, they're so fast at communicating value. They're just too good.
Right. I actually don't know if we have anything more to talk about. Other than, well, I guess we could talk, oh, maybe we do, actually. I bet. Because we need to talk about the titles, so creating better storytelling. That it'll probably be the last thing. Just like Nate was talking about, you don't need to have it's not about necessarily not having lots of content on your website. It's just about the right kind of content, right? So use visual artifacts that tell the story and support the process, and talk about your process a little bit. Give us the way. Now, one thing you can do that helps a lot with this is if you were to summarize, instead of using like a section of like a final design workflow, that might actually be a good one. But instead of saying maybe like, or even impact titled sections, just use the first line. Use something like a summary statement about what the paragraph or the section is going to be about, and put it as the title. And this gives users a great opportunity to, one, they get the most important thing right away, but they also can just read the titles and then they might skip the text content. And that's okay because you've made it okay. Because now they see the big things that you want to address right out of the gate. The key thing here is going to be making sure that these are compelling, right? So in this case, I literally just wrote what exactly you had written here. Inconsistency, user error, and discoverability. I would probably rewrite this so it's a little bit more UX coded. This would be things like I created separate pages, modals, panels after doing user research, very UX coded. Information architecture, also UX coded. Basically, qualifying your decision in this as well. So, like, what was happening and the reason that you could see this. That's my suggestion. Otherwise, I think the content is probably pretty good. There's a lot of we language in here, and sometimes that's okay. I would caution you against using we by default. And I would just talk about you, because I wanna buy Chet, but Chet's name isn't on here almost at all. You don't talk about I did this, I did that. It's all we. It's all we. And so this is like very team coded versus Chet. And I want to read about Chet's work, what Chet did. So you can own this a little bit more by changing some of this to I enhanced this thing, and I think your team is probably okay with that. And then we also mentioned previously, like, making sure that this title here is a meaningful title, in the sense that it is actually more about the what impact uh, via a method, right, which is UX coded, for, and then who it was for, right, and then that kind of language, that kind of structure helps to frame and gives an opinion over your entire case study that helps people choose it, but also know what to look for. You just have to make sure you're ready to answer the expectations of it, right? If you talk about an impact that is 30 to 40%, you better have the ability to qualify that and really speak to it well. If you are going to, that's important. It's really important. So I think that's my last piece of it. Of quick feedback for you though, Chet.
Chet, I
Other
got
than
Whoa, go ahead.
don't use all caps. Don't use all cap titles. All caps are hard to read. They're hard to scan. They're not awesome. Don't use all caps when you can avoid it.
They're not awesome. Chet, I got a question for you. I found your about page, and we haven't talked about the about page at all. One of the things that Tim and I have talked about is our goal on this call is not to talk about all the possible things you could do. Instead, we talk about, ideally, what are the top things you could focus on right now, and then if you come back next week, we can take a look at what are the next most important things. So we haven't gotten a chance to talk about your about page at all. But I found your experience at the bottom of your about page, and you've got Scrum Master on here, Product Owner. You are like well positioning yourself for enterprise level tech. Is that your jam? Is that where you're wanting to focus?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my experience so far has been in a lot of B2B SaaS. It's more of just like me trying to reframe myself. I'm not trying to be a Scrum Master or customer success manager anymore, but I want to bring that experience into a product design role.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Like if we know the market is kind of a bummer at the moment, there are few jobs available for a high demand of supply. Because like organizations have low budgetary constraints right now, or I guess high budgetary constraints, positioning yourself as a generalist is currently an advantage in the current market. So I like you with your eclectic background here, very cool to see. I could see a lot of value in a high enterprise organization hiring a product designer with backgrounds in Scrum and product ownership. Like those are real high enterprise business level skill sets and acumen that would be awesome to showcase. We talked about your value prop at the very beginning. Would love to, like, if you're able to include some of that in your value prop, showcase that, talk about a differentiator. That's huge.
Gotcha. So like moving some of that back to the front where I say like, talking about how I partner with sort of that initial first statement.
I mean, maybe, but what I'm trying to describe here is your value prop could say something along the lines of, my name's Chet, I'm a product designer. I enable enterprise SaaS tech organizations. I product lead SaaS organizations through Scrum and design leadership. So, that clearly requires finesse, but like showcasing that B2B SaaS Scrum product ownership background in your value prop would be a solid differentiator.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a great fit.
Chet, man, appreciate you hanging out with us. It would love to chat again if you feel like doing some stuff and then showcasing some more of this in the future. Would love to hang out again.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. This is my first time here, and I just wanted to say really appreciate the work you all are doing. This is super fun. Even just seeing all the other portfolios and discussion is super helpful. So thank you so much.
Nice. Yeah, appreciate the kind words. Tim, looking at the clock. For the folks still on the call, we do this every Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to make sure your stuff gets reviewed, come in 5 minutes, 10 minutes early, add your link to your resume, portfolio, whatever design asset you're wanting to share, add it to the chat, be one of the first ones, and you're guaranteed a slot on the list if you're one of the first. Tim, I got nothing for after hours today. Anything you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, what is our? I mean, we can play our outro if you want.
Oh boy, do we
I
still have
moved
that
the
file?
Oh well.
It's for the
I have
best.
it somewhere. I think I just moved it.
Oh
Maybe
no.
I even cleared it. I'll have to go get it again. But no, I think that's it. I think that's it. We appreciate everyone who's been here today. Again, we want to do this for kind of the love of doing it, helping people, being part of a community, building up others as well, like helping designers get along. We know it's tough out there. We want to make sure we are not a place where you feel like it is also tough. We want to be friendly and kind, and we hope to be able to accomplish that for you today. So we look forward to seeing everyone next week, I guess. It's next week, the February 13th. It'll be the day before Valentine's Day.
Ooh.
Should we do a Valentine's Day themed encoded design feedback Friday session?
Well, if not Valentine's Day, then Friday the 13th, surely.
A spooky pre-Valentine's Day stream. I can, it's so good. I can't even imagine what that would be like, especially successfully. So, anyways, thanks everyone. We look forward to seeing you next week. And I don't even think Tanmei's here. Tanmei's not even here to do our after hours thing. Does anyone have something we want to talk about once the stream ends?
I'll just end the stream now. Goodbye, YouTube folk. Good hanging out with you.